Wow, that might just be perfect. What's going on, YouTube fam? I just want to give you a brief update on where I'm headed. I'm actually headed to Fit Nation Gym, which apparently is where all these Shreds athletes train. So I'm not too sure how I feel about that, but I'm going, I'm having a lift, someone's getting me in, and then I'm going to train with my posing coach, and he's going to teach me some things. So that's probably what I need to work on the most for this prep. I feel pretty physically ready. I feel like my body's ready. My body fat is almost where I want it to be. But I just need to nail down some posing routines. So he's going to help me out. We're going to get some good footage at the gym. Alright, so we just got here. I honestly don't know what to expect, so we'll see what happens. I'm kind of worried. I hear the coach that I'm meeting with is actually an ex-Marine, so hopefully he doesn't scare me too much. I want to really talk about what I did today at the gym. So just kind of the reasoning behind why I did certain exercises, really what it works, and I guess kind of the physiology and kinesiology, because that was my degree. I graduated, so I want to be able to relay that knowledge to you guys and why I'm doing certain things. So I started off, before I started filming, I did a little warm-up. I actually rolled out my upper back, my traps, because I'm super tight, and I use a lacrosse ball on them and on my posterior deltoids. And the reason for this is because when your traps are all tight, that's one of the main muscles that helps articulate your scapula whenever you're lifting any weight overhead or moving your arms up like that. Your scapula really, or your traps, I'm sorry, they really rotate your scapula and allow you to get that overhead movement that you want, or just any movement of your humerus, which is your upper arm. Then after that, I started with some seated dumbbell presses. So I did 4 sets here, nothing too fancy. One thing that I have been realizing is I need to kind of lean back a bit more when I do these, because I do have some shoulder problems. So if I go directly up and down with my body, with my low back against the pad and my upper back against the pad as well, I eventually start going too directly overhead, which irritates my shoulder. So I kind of try and lean back a little bit and push the dumbbells in front of me instead of vertically directly in line with my body. Really plant your feet and your body on the floor and the bench, whatever you're doing, and don't move it, because that's really the foundation for what you're pressing off of. So if you don't have a good foundation, your feet aren't planted, if you're wiggling around doing all stuff like that, your lift and your strength is going to be severely affected. So setup is crucial. Get set up, feet planted on the floor, back on the bench. The next exercise I did was kind of a leaning side lateral, or not side lateral, a leaning lateral raise. So the reason I did a slight lean and single arm, one arm at a time, was because whenever you're doing any lateral raise movement, the 2 muscles that are mainly involved in that, besides your traps and your deltoids, are some actually rotator cuff muscles. From 0 down here to about 75 here is actually all, a majority, it's your rotator cuff muscle is what is lifting that. It's called your supraspinatus. Your deltoid works the majority of the workload when it's from 75 to really 180, so that's where the presses come in handy. So you're getting your arm all the way directly overhead. But for these, I really worked on trying to bring my arm up as high as I can, not just stopping at parallel with the ground. Yes, it is okay to use some momentum with these, as long as you are still controlling the weight. You're not wildly swinging it around. That's what I see some people doing. So the next exercise was a face pull, and nothing fancy with these. I think I've mentioned it before, but one thing I do want to touch on is making sure that your elbow stays below your hand at all times when you're pulling the weight. So instead of, a lot of times I see people pulling like this as a face pull. That's not good. You're going to eventually have shoulder problems from the impingement that that's causing. So open up your shoulders, squeeze your scapula back, and try and keep your hands higher than your elbow the whole time. So what that creates is the external rotation and really helps emphasize the rear delts. After that, I moved on to cable curls and cable press downs. So with these, I did an easy bar. You will see in the footage that I kind of bring my elbow forward on the curls, and there really isn't an issue or a problem with doing that. You want to just make sure, like I said before, you're controlling the weight. Everyone's going to have slightly different form when it comes to doing things like that, I like to bring my elbows slightly forward. As long as you're still feeling it in your biceps, it's not going to be a huge issue. So, and then I supersetted that with a cable press down. Just like with the bicep curl, at the top, don't just stop when your forearms are parallel with the ground. You want to come all the way up, getting a full stretch in your tricep. You don't want to sell yourself short. Do the maximum amount of work and you're going to get the maximum amount of results. So stretch your tricep all the way, go all the way up as high as you can, and then press back down. The next exercise I did was an overhead seated dumbbell extension, and really, like I mentioned before with the overhead dumbbell press, I kind of lean back a little bit in the bench because I don't have that overhead mobility to sit my low back in the bench and have my upper back touching it as well. I really like I said with the other tricep movement, you want to make sure you're getting the full stretch. Don't just stop at 90 degrees. Go all the way down and all the way back up. Form on these is so critical. And then I supersetted that with a dumbbell hammer curl, and on these, exactly like any other curl you're going to be doing, keep completely strict form. I like to keep my elbows directly by my side the whole time. I don't really come forward at all, and that's going to really help emphasize the brachialis, which is a muscle deep on the side of your bicep. So the overhead dumbbell extension, that works the long head of your tricep. So that's the one on the inside that you see. That's really probably the meatiest part of your arm. After that, I did some blood flow restriction. So with this, you want to wrap. You don't want your arm to become numb when you're doing this. That is going to probably lead to nerve damage and just a lot of other problems that you don't want to get into. We're here to prevent injury. We're not here to cause anything. So I did blood flow restriction with the spider curls, and what I did, I just wrapped my wrist wraps around like my lower deltoid and upper arm, and you want about a 7 out of 10 tightness. And what that does is it creates a lot more metabolic fatigue, is what the technical term is, but it kind of creates that sensation of the pump, is the layman term for it. So what I did for these is I did blood flow restriction spider curls, which is laying on the bench, arms hanging down, kind of like a preacher curl movement. And then I supersetted that with an incline dumbbell skull crusher. So whenever you're doing blood flow restriction, the typical protocol is 3 to 4 sets. The first set you do 30 reps to kind of pre-exhaust yourself, get that metabolic fatigue, all that buildup of lactic acid. And then after that, you go down to sets of 15. So I did 4 sets, 1 set of 30, and then 3 sets of 15. The spider curls help work the short head of the bicep. I had to think about that for a second. And the short head is actually this inner part of the bicep right here. Right there, yeah, that's it. Make sure your arms are completely dangling and you flex your triceps at the bottom. Get a full extension, full stretch in your biceps. And again, don't swing your elbows on these. Make sure they're staying nice and fixed and it's just coming all from your biceps. No shoulders coming into play with this. And then with the incline skull crusher, I like coming down right by my ears, and then I kind of twist the dumbbells out and rotate them to get that full extension. Anytime you're in an incline, it typically places more stress on the long head, but since we're not on that big of an incline, it's also going to place stress on the lateral head of your tricep. And then after that, I did some cable crunches. On these, I like to go about 4 sets of 15 to 20. And one thing that I see a lot of people doing is having the movement come really from their knees and their hips instead of completely curling into a ball and doing like a crunch motion. So a lot of the movement, when you're bringing your hips up and down, you'll see in the video that I actually try and keep my butt stationary the whole time. My upper legs aren't swinging back and forth like hinging. They're staying right here, and then my torso is what is hinging. I'm not going like this back and forth. So create all the movement coming from your abs. Curl into a ball, full extension all the way up. And then after that, I supersetted some Russian twists and just a typical plated crunch. So nothing out of the ordinary there as well. I don't think I got shots of those, but if you want to throw those into your next workout, definitely feel free to do so. So that was about it for my workout. And then afterwards, I did some posing with Coach Norm. He's from Team NJFF. So he really helped me out a lot there. And I have a lot to work on if I want to do the physique show in Riverside, which is in 2 weeks from now. And I have not done any posing. My conditioning is definitely there, but I need to work on some serious time on my posing, because how can you expect to win if you have a body and the physique package ready but you don't know how to present it? So that's really what posing comes in. So that's where I'm at. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. See ya.